Okay, so I will say welcome to the conversation. Outspoken and opinionated. I am the outspoken and opinionated host, Edwin J. Meyer. Today I have three couples with me, and we're about to talk about love, really black love within this pandemic. And what I'm trying to do is to have these conversations with different couples so that we can see what happened with them during quarantine. Quarantine has made multiple couples examine their relationships more closely or nudge them to self-isolate. While many had a partner to prove through the quarantine, others had to adjust to this new norm. According to the Daily Mail, the divorce rate in America soared by 34% during COVID-19 pandemic, with marriages literally crumbling 3 weeks into quarantine and newlywed separation doubling to 20%. But today, I have the newlyweds, Michael Cooper and Laurice Cooper, who literally went into quarantine right after the wedding. And they're not only newlywed. I don't know if they don't want this news to be out, but I'm going to put it out there. They're also expecting new couples. So they're expecting a baby. They got married, went into quarantine, and now they have a baby on the way.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Augustus and Chinelo Kokoya, who are almost 2 years in the marriage. And then I have the veteran couple, Ray and Wincy Williams, who've been married like 5 years. So I take off all my flags to them. I'm like, yeah. But this is what black love looks like. For those who haven't seen black love, this is what it is. I have some strong black people on here who have been holding it down. And so we're just going to dive right into the conversation. So my first question to everybody is, how are you guys doing? And I would start with Echo and Laurice. How are you guys doing? And you guys can decide who's going to go.
Okay.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Michael?
I'm doing well, doing fine.
Okay. And just for clarification, Michael is actually calling from Liberia. He's in Bopolu. And Laurice is in New Jersey. So this couple they're real serious. They got married when in quarantine. She's pregnant now. They're in 2 different countries. So I don't know what's going on. They gotta explain this love thing to us.
I thought they had a falling out. That's why they had 2 separate cameras.
Oh my God. This is what's happening already.
No.
Oh Lord.
DJ, as you said, we're expecting. So I had to stay in America until I deliver, and Michael had to go back to work in Liberia. That's why.
So I work with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And I'm currently on a field mission in Barpaloo, working with women farmers. And yeah, so I'm glad the internet connection worked, and we're here.
Okay, well, if you guys don't have your drinks, I have mine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to because that was a lot for me. There you go. Okay, so then I will go to the Williams. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great.
Well, first and foremost, I think my time's worth what, 150 to 200 per hour. My wife, so that's 300. Who do I send the invoice to for this hour?
You can send an invoice to Badger Collections, and we will send you out. My people will send you out. Okay.
You can put it out there. Y'all see what I have to deal with.
So what's going on with the Kokoyas? How are you guys doing?
We're doing wonderful so far, DJ. And
I can see that melanin popping. Chilling. That's great. But that's amazing. But have you guys learned anything that you probably would not have learned without this pandemic? And I will start with the Williams. Did you learn anything, Wincy? Did you learn anything about Ray? Ray, did you learn anything about Wincy that probably you have not learned if this pandemic had not happened?
What I would say is not that I learned anything new, but it's just made me just reevaluate our relationship, and just to know that I know it's pretty much going to sound cliche, but I pretty much married my best friend. This is somebody that I actually look up to him in terms of the direction he's leading our family. So it's that's something that I had to kind of just focus on, and then was wow, I actually marry a good man.
Well, me, she makes me feel safe because I worked all the way through the pandemic, and so once I come home, I have this safe haven, if you will, that my wife created for me and my daughter. So I learned that she makes me feel safe as a man. You know, and it's hard because as a man, you have to provide, you have to make sure you're the strong one. If you ever bump in the night, you have to go down there and check it out. But for her to make me feel safe in my manhood, it's priceless.
Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Kokoya, what did you guys, Chinelo, did you learn anything new about Gus? Gus, did you learn anything new about the beautiful Chinelo?
I mean, like I would say throughout the pandemic, you know, I mean, I've always known Gus. I've known him since we're in the third grade, but being that, you know, with the quarantine, you couldn't do anything but just stay in isolation for like the first few months. It made me know that we can do anything together, and through any difficult time, you know, we can overcome that and get through. And I felt like this was like something where I realized we could do anything together and still have fun. It didn't matter if we're doing anything big, just the little things, like just playing games, you know, like Uno and laughing about it, you know, just little things. It doesn't have to working up together, you know, just is pretty active. You know, he's always working out. I try my best whenever I can, but you know, the whole pandemic, everything was shut down. You can even work out in the home, you know, and just have fun. So I think throughout the pandemic, it made me more like my best friend. You know, we can get through anything together. So it just made me know that, you know, I have a great man and my best friend. So very cool.
So Gus, did you learn anything new?
Yeah, pretty much just to echo a lot of what she said. I mean, I've known her for quite a long time, so nothing really, you know, different outside of what I already know about her. You know, I just know for me, one thing I did learn maybe I'm a procrastinator. That's something that I struggle with. You know what I mean? And she's more of a planner, so a lot of things. You know, to kind of get started, you know, when we had a lot of time, obviously with the pandemic, to discuss future plans and things like that. So she would for the most part, take the initiate to kind of get that started. And you know, she's always sweet, as she's always been since I've known her. And yeah, the same thing. I mean, she's my best friend, not just my wife. So we've had a good time with the extra time together during this quarantine.
Okay, great. Your volume is a little low, Kokoya, so you probably want to put your volume up.
Okay.
So Larissa, Michael, you guys learned a lot. So y'all need to. I know y'all learned something. Shoot, y'all gonna do this. I'm just gonna sit back and watch. Yeah, Michael, I'm gonna call you out. So what did you learn?
I learned that we have a baby on the way. But I would like to think so. We've been together almost 5 years now, so we share a lot of things. But I think I would put a lot of emphasis on gestures and being affectionate. So even though being confined in the same space and having different work times, because Larissa's was still working, she's still working with her organization that she works with. And so she keeps different hours because she's working Liberian time. So even though we're in the same space, we're enclosed, you still have to find times to like have special moments or gestures, you know, whether it's lunch in the living room or setting up like I tried to do a picnic in the backyard, but then it rained. So we had a picnic in the living room. So that worked out. But yeah, just things like that, but nothing really new, but just paying more attention to trying to be more affectionate as, you know, you don't just let the days pass.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that I learned anything brand new because, like you said, we have been together for almost 5 years. We lived together before, both in Liberia and in New York. So I think we kind of like have learned each other and know like our different habits and cohabitating. But I think one thing that I did figure out in the quarantine was like the importance of just having, like he said, like spending time together and having personal time. Because the way that we were quarantining was very abnormal in a way. Like we weren't quarantining in our own space, we were quarantining with family. Because as you know, like we live in Liberia. And so obviously right after the wedding, when we flew back into the States from Cancun, everything was like shut down. There were no flights to go home. So we literally were quarantining at my sister's house, and we just had to, thank God for family. But at the end of the day, like, we still had to make the best of it. And, not being back like in our, marital home and having to deal with like having very minimal privacy and trying to like, make everything work. So I think what I learned, not necessarily about him, but just about like our marriage, was like the importance of like spending time together and just trying to find ways to like still be intimate even when there's like family and there's like all this other stuff going on around us.
Yeah, because I was going to ask that question because I don't know. It's a hard thing for me. I just like to be free. I'm like a wild animal.
How free are we talking?
Anyway, but this is supposed to be censored, so I will try to keep it PG because I appreciate if I keep it PG.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so well, I think. Okay, I'm not gonna think. I'm gonna ask. Everybody on all my guests, did you guys all live together before you got married?
We did.
Yes.
Yeah,
we did.
Awesome.
I personally think that part is pretty crucial to before you marry someone. I guess she found out I was not like a dirty person. I guess like I cleaned up after myself. And I found somebody that I could live with and be comfortable with in your space, because your space is important, especially growing up and being. So I was the only child for a while, and that personal space was very important to me. So to bring somebody into that space, because she comes from such a big family, that was a big step for me. So being as comfortable as I am with her now was very much more, it kind of like solidified that this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life, because I'm comfortable with you, whether we're in Liberia, whether we're in New York, or wherever we are. So that was key for our relationship.
And that is really important, because I know for me, so I was not able to meet the 5-year mark. Kudos to the Williams. So I was married, got divorced before hit like almost 5 years. But that's one thing I will say. I think, first of all, my ex-wife is amazing. She's an amazing mother. She's an amazing person. But I think probably if we had lived together, I think we've been able to deal with some of the issues that we had. Not saying that was the only issue, but some of the issues would have helped us if we had lived together before getting married. But of course, according to the Bible, people, you're supposed to not shack up before you get married, because, it's against all the rules and regulations. But as we can see, it works. And like I always tell people, I said, for some people it works, and for some people it don't work. Marriage isn't one size fit all. Everybody has to do what works for them. So if it worked for you guys, I'm happy. I think this time around, I'm going to probably shack up before I get married. I got all these things going on. Probably about quarantine. Ray, leave me alone.
It's hard to do it the traditional way in 2020. So you have to kind of test drive the whole vehicle, kick the tires, make sure everything's up to par.
I got to think on that. He said test drive.
Just to clarify something.
My mind was somewhere else, so I'm not with y'all.
But just to clarify something, on the whole, not with the whole Bible people of not shacking together, we did go through counseling prior to being married, and so like the pastor is actually able to kind of clarify that a little bit, where it's more. So it's not wrong for you guys to live together. It's the simple fact of being tempted to fornicate. So just to clear that part out, and I'm just going to leave it right there. That's it.
And I would say something else. You don't have to live together to be tempted to do anything.
Exactly.
So I don't think that's. But anyway, that's my opinion. And I'm outspoken opinionated. So I have a lot of opinions, but I will leave that alone, and I will move forward before I get my little show taken down. But what I want to ask you guys is, were there any fears? So like for Michael and Larice, who were leaving Cancun, came to the States, you go into quarantine with family, Wincy and Ray. Ray's working, Wincy's staying at home. They have a little girl, they have a baby, little girl, can hear in the background. Gus and Chichi. were there any fears? And I say this because I want to put context on it. We all work 8 hours a day. So that means we spend 8 hours apart from each other. When we get home, somebody making dinner, somebody probably catching up with friends, you keep watching your TV show. By the time you look, it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, time for you to go to bed. You go to bed, whatever happens the next morning, do the same thing. Now it's quarantine, and you guys are in each other's face 24/7. Augustus and Chinelo, were there any fears?
Well, I mean, with quarantine, I mean, the whole concept of personal space, I mean, that's out the window because we have, like you said, 24 hours to, be in each other's space while she's working. I mean, you were hearing her work, whatever's going on there while I'm working, she's hearing what I'm doing. So it can get pretty uncomfortable in certain situations. And I'm to your first statement about the divorce rate, I'm sure maybe I can understand why a lot of those relationships probably have issues. But for us, it was just, even though we're confined, just we still had time to do our own thing. You know what I mean? Like, she likes to read. Quietly, I like to watch my Sports Center. So obviously, when she's reading, we turn the TV up, like to the max. You know what I'm saying? So we still respected, had those boundaries where we allowed each other to do our own thing. Just to manage it. And I think for our situation, it worked out. Like, we're comfortable with each other. I enjoyed being around her, so it wasn't anything where, I can't stand this person, like I need to get out the house. So we made it work, and had our personal time, and then we had time to as well.
Yeah, and I would say, like, for us, I know the other couples, they have partners who had to, leave the house during this quarantine time. But with my job, I'm in the education field. So we worked remotely. Everything happened. We started working from home. I started working from home. I started working from home as well. So although we're in the health, this whole thing happened, nobody knew what was going on. This pandemic caught everybody off guard, basically. So it's like we trying to get information, like what's going on. At the same time, you're trying to be safe. So that way, the other person that you're with, like us, we're in the house, but you don't want to spend all your time inside. Like, we have rooms in the house. So, I'm working or, in a class or something like that. Also be in the other room doing something else. So we can respect the space, and then, wear our masks as new to everybody, new for us. Like, how we'll go downstairs, and then we like wear a mask, like you can't go anywhere without your mask. So, just leaving the house, even though we're inside, but taking walks, that was very helpful, and that was relaxing mentally, I think, for us. Like running, I'm not trying to run or work out, but it's still, I didn't do the best, but I still tried. But just finding things, being safe at the same time, making it work as a couple. But it's just us. Every couple is not the same, so people do things differently that works for them.
Exactly. So, Wincy and Ray, were there any fears going into quarantine?
The fear that I had for the family is pretty much trying to figure out my income, because I'm an event planner, and so with everything being shut down, it's like my job is like, okay, everyone needs to go and lay off, and then not being able to, I don't want to say maintain our lifestyle, but not being able to have that steady flow of income coming in, and you have to worry about unemployment and all the issues that's going on with unemployment. I think I actually had to wait like over a month before I got my first payment. And so just thinking about the bills, and then also thinking about making sure we had enough money to cover food and everything else. And then the only other fear I really had was, by being home, you're watching the news 24/7, and you're seeing like all the reports about COVID, the numbers are increasing and everything. And then I'm worried about him going to work. He's interacting with people, and then he's coming home, and then I have a health issue. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, is this how I'm about to spend my last days? Like, what's going on? So just the fear of not knowing like what's going to happen, and then just trying to like just just kind of stay away from watching the news for a while, and then just watching movies and things like that of that nature.
So for me personally, just the unknown, just not knowing what's going on, which way it's going to go. You don't know if it's going to be the day of the zombies or it's just a hope. That was the only thing, just the unknown. But as time progressed, you realized that we'll be okay. We just gotta get through it.
Yeah, so for those who are watching, we are in pandemic. We're in this coronavirus. We are doing everything at home. So if you had not realized, the Williams got a little one, and so she is, there she is. There she is. So this is it. This is the norm. This is how life is. But I will go to Michael and Laurice. Were there fears? I don't know.
I feel like okay. So my one fear was that we were going to be quarantining with family. And I was like, Iko, I really hope that we're able to like maneuver the situation being with family. I hope that Michael's going to be good. I hope that they're going to be good. But it all turned out to be fine because again, everyone had already met each other. We had spent like holidays and stuff together. Of course, this was extended longer than a holiday, but we managed to like figure out emotion, so that was fine. And then of course finding out that we were expecting was also scary because it was like, wow, okay, we just got married like 5 minutes ago and now I'm finding out that like I'm pregnant. So what does this mean, for like our relationship, because I feel like a lot of times people are like, when you get married, you should wait, enjoy your marriage, and then start to try to have kids later. And we obviously did not. So I was just like nervous about that. But Michael has been, super supportive, both when he was here and when he was leaving, and since he's been in Liberia. So I feel like we've really been putting our best foot forward and like managing quarantine, pregnancy, being newlyweds, the whole nine.
Yeah. Just to, I guess, echo off her and keep it short. I already met her family, and I won everybody over like quite easily, actually, in the first month of this relationship. Back in like 2015, 16, I like won them over. So we're perfect. Her sister is actually married to a Cooper. So it was funny. We're all in the household and we're all Coopers now. So, so it was good in the Cooper household. No real fears. I mean, we did want to kind of get back home. We had plans, travel, but obviously with the COVID and everything that's happening, thanks to her sister, my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, everything went really well. So there is no real fear.
That's good. Where some of us had fears, I had a lot of fear. I'm gonna be inside forever. I don't like to be inside.
No day parties for you?
I gotta go to my brunch and all that. How am I gonna get
exactly. There we go.
I would tell you guys. So we left Mexico, came to the States. I was in Mexico and I got an email from my job telling me that we were shut down and they were going into quarantine. So when I got back, I realized that Total Wine was open. I stack up. I think we spent almost $200.
Oh wow!
I was drunk every day. Dude, it was a good time. Even though I was scared, I was paranoid with people, people coming over and we going over and stuff like that. And then having a 7-year-old, that's even worse because you're like, okay, he's a child. Like, if we go to the store, is he gonna get out the car? Is he gonna stay in the car? Then the police gonna come. Like a lot of things. You're so confused because you don't even know what to do. But I had multiple meltdowns. There was one time I can swear to God, I thought I had COVID-19. I had all the symptoms. And I don't know, it was my imagination, but I had several meltdowns. So I'm going to go now to ask you guys, and you guys can jump in whenever you want. Like, anybody had a meltdown? You need to tell. We want to know what the meltdown was.
Listen, I don't know if I had a meltdown, but I definitely was nervous because we decided to celebrate Juneteenth. We were in quarantine the whole time, didn't see anybody. And then we decided to finally see people for Juneteenth. So we went to Philly, got an Airbnb, stayed with friends. And I feel like it was a nice time. You know, it always starts off with we're going to wear a mask. Nobody's going to embrace. Nobody's going to do this or that. Obviously, I was the only one not drinking. Everybody else was drinking. So by an hour or two in, everybody's all sitting on the couch together, touchy-feely. So when we came back from that, I was like, okay, I'm officially going to die. Because nobody was like social distancing. So I feel like that was like a scary moment, but obviously we're here. So praise God.
Good.
Yeah.
I know me personally, we didn't have any scares, but a couple times I came home, I felt I had to separate my wife and my daughter because them just living together day in, day out. I thought I was going to have to separate a fist fight.
That was, I think that was my meltdown. Like, our daughter, she's 4. And so I've never been the stay-at-home type, like stay-at-home mom. I'm always active and like I'm always thinking about the next thing to do. And so just having to be home, and then I want to like make sure that I have to work on her schoolwork, make sure she can write her names. And this little girl's talking back to me. And I was like, sometimes I forget she's my child. And I kind of like talk to her like she's an adult person. Like, listen, we're not going to be going back and forth.
She tell you what she's not going to do.
Yes. And so when he comes home from work, I'm like, yo, take your child. Like, I need my me time. And that was like my meltdown point where it wasn't so much of her, but it was just waking up and doing the same thing every single day. But it was just like staying in the house. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you make breakfast, you do schoolwork, you exercise, you just like talk on the phone, you watch movies. It was the same routine every day. Like I couldn't even go outside to get fresh air to see anybody. And I just had it. Like I went in the bathroom one night and was just crying. The next day I sent a long email to my boss. I was like, yo, like, I don't mind coming in. Like I like the windows. Like just let me come out and do something. But that was it.
Koyas, any meltdown?
Yeah, I had some gonna cough in December, my brother. I think yeah. I was certain I had, the virus, but it lasted so long. I mean, I went to see the doctor to prescribe some medication, but it didn't seem to work. So then, I'm into my herbs, so I started doing a lot of, ginger and all the other things like that to try to help cure it. Over time, it went away, but that was a scary moment for me. I just thought for sure. I said, look, man, don't tell me I can't get this thing, first year in the midst of properly yet, and I'm about to have the virus. But thankfully, I didn't get tested because at the time, there's still a lot of shortage with testing and things like that. So, I'm healthy now. I haven't had those symptoms since then. Thank God, So, and I've been able to keep my wife safe. She usually stays in the house a lot. I'm the one trying to still force her to go outside, here and there. But, we've been good so far.
Yeah, I was like, my meltdown came because, I've been in the house for a couple of months, quarantine, everything shut down, no gym, be outside or whatever. Every day is in the house doing mostly going outside for groceries. The only time you get your me time, your alone time in your car. Your car became my car became like my best friend. I don't think Gus still my best friend. But I just like getting out of the house, doing something. So the one time when the gym finally opened up, I think it was like early July, I went to a gym class, but it was outdoors in the parking lot. You still had to wear masks. So went to the class outside. Everything was good, we had a good, just to see people you haven't seen like 3-4 months, was like great. So came home the next day, I'm laying down, I get an email from the gym that said somebody who was in the class had one of family member had came down with COVID. So yeah, so I'm in the bed. I felt the moment I saw that email, I felt like I was going to die, because I just started feeling all the different symptoms. All the symptoms.
I had to go in the other room because I was like, yo.
Quarantine, girl, you gotta go.
I got to go in the other room. I had to go in the other room, and then I had to go to Kaiser just to get tested or whatever to make sure. But thank God everything came back negative. So thank God for that. But that was like my meltdown. I was like crying. I was like, oh my God. And it was like, I felt embarrassed, like ashamed, like to even tell people about it. I was like, so the possibility,
Yeah.
that I didn't come in contact with many people. It's just Gus. I didn't go out anywhere to be around a lot of people to put them in danger. But thank God everything came back good. But it was just, knowing that you might have COVID, so that was like my only meltdown moment.
Okay, we're getting some comments coming in. People are commenting on the show. So we're now gonna go into the real nitty gritty because I think you guys have been real cute on this show, and I don't like cuteness.
Look,
We're gonna be real. We need to be outspoken. I need some opinionated and outspoken people out here. So we need to talk about the real stuff that happened during quarantine. So let's talk about these arguments because I know there were arguments. Because if you're in the house 24 hours, there were arguments. So I'm going to start with Ray and Wincy Williams. Let's talk about this thing. What really went down in the house?
I don't know. The only argument that I can really think that really got on my nerves, I would say, like I said, it was just the same old routine every day, and I tried to play like that housewife role. Whereas before he come home, I want to make sure at least the kitchen is clean or he has food to eat. But it's like waking up and you clean up every day, and then when you go to sleep and wake up in the morning, you see dishes in the sink again. Like that started to get under my skin.
Well, she's a housewife, so if I'm the front door,
they're gonna start tagging you.
But I know for that, like maybe after a month and a half, I had to realize that I was just tripping like a lot because of everything that's going on. So I actually had to apologize to him.
Zayna, sorry about that.
I actually had to apologize to him, which is something I rarely do. But I had to apologize to him to actually let him know that it was my fault that I was the one that was tripping over that.
And I'll clarify. The reason why she rarely, apologizes is because more times than not, I'm the one that, at fault, or I take it to a certain level that I shouldn't.
Oh, look at them! Look, this is 5 years.
Yeah, if you take it here, I'll take it to the extreme because I'm very sensitive. So if she says something to me, I'm like, oh, I have to win this argument by any means necessary. And just because you win, that don't mean it's right. So that's it. So I had to learn that.
Newlyweds in quarantine, and a baby. Marissa Michael Cooper. Give me one juicy argument. I know that was a
So Michael became addicted to Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And to the point where he literally like set up a whole station in my sister's basement that was like his Call of Duty station. Literally, like the table is still here. And yeah, so we used to like argue about that because all this talk about, oh, we got to spend time together, we need to do this and that is like you're downstairs playing Call of Duty all night. So that caused this friction.
This is the one thing I will say, okay? Have you ever tried playing Call of Duty with a bunch of Liberian people screaming in your ear where to go and what to do? It is the most hilarious thing in life.
That is extremely chaotic.
Left turn behind you. My man, I'm not down. What's going on? Where is it? I was like, yeah, okay.
That sounds like a personal problem because at the end of the day, we were supposed to like there were so many times we were supposed to like watch a movie or do something together, and Michael would be downstairs yelling at the top of his lungs, and I'm like, these people really think they're soldiers, and like we have a movie to watch. Like, so I don't understand. So and it changed like his sleeping hours. It was just ridiculous.
Working remotely. Our hours are definitely different, obviously, from working in Liberia. So, because we're at the time, I think it was 5 hours. So we started work maybe like 2 p.m. or so. And then so the time difference just made it that when she was working, I had a lot of free time. And so a friend of mine was like, hey, why don't you come on this and see, if you like it? I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything. This was like probably the second month of the quarantine. And yeah, it was a social platform to pass time.
It's okay, Michael. I got addicted to rum and coke. It's fine. Everybody get addicted to something like rum. Now I can't even taste rum and coke because I didn't like to even smell it. I did it too much. But Mr. and Mrs. Kokoya,
Well,
Give me one argument. So for those who are watching, I'm gonna turn it into Liberian because I think that's when they will understand me. So Kokoya, give me some kind of argument.
My argument with us is, I tell him, with the whole COVID, we're in the house, bonding, do all this together. So the moment, certain places enter another phase where you could go. Yes.
I like to smoke my little cigars.
He not pick up the cigar thing. He can't be alone, And one thing is, everybody need their own time. You need a boy's time, you need a me time or whatever. I'm cool with that. I'm a very understanding person. I work with Gus.
Okay.
But my thing with Gus, the argument came because he would tell me, he going, oh, we're going to go run back to Target. I'll be right back, okay? I said, you named me with Target? Yeah, then we go and just get me a couple of things, come back, you'll be okay. And that's like 8 something. So it goes to like 11. I'm like, it's 8 p.m. It's 11 now. I'm like, well, Target, you cannot be in Target this long.
What's a 24-hour Target?
You gonna have a party Target or what? So
the line was long. Have you seen those lines?
Oh, ridiculous.
So when I called him, he didn't answer. He didn't answer at the time, but he would text me back. So I said, well, why am I calling you? But you texting me back. And you're supposed to be in Target. You can pick up your phone in Target,
Oh.
So,
the phone's at the door.
Later he told me he ended up in Silver Spring at some cigar place, outdoors smoking cigar. I'm like, communicate with me. I think that's a big thing, communication, and I'm sure the veterans in the marriage can communication is key to success in marriage. Yeah. That
was one argument. About the extended hours at Target, because the thing is, if you tell my wife, I said, look, I'm gonna go to Target, and sometimes I just may, the boys might hit me or might just go sit down to the That's right, I should communicate, you definitely should keep that open. But once in a while you forget, my man, you know what I mean? And then you forget about the time, and then by the time you look, the wifey calling you, and then if you don't answer, then it's a whole. A short one, real quick. Simple things. Just in the house, the water bottle. Of course, now you're spending a lot of time together.
Oh so, yeah, the water bottle.
Not the water bottle. The
water filter.
The filter. So my wife has this big jug of container. You know what I mean? And she fills that thing to the brim, and it's like. So she gets mad at me in my small little bottle. I go, put some water in there. Well, first of all, you gotta make sure you fill that thing to the top. So I said, but in comparison to your own jug, little piece of little thing here, what I mean? Why am I being having to take this responsibility to fill this thing out every single time? You don't want to fill it. So anyway, but I mean, nothing major though. Just little quick.
And I think this is what it's all about, because I think quarantine gave us all the opportunity to spend more time with our loved ones, to spend more time with our family members, to get to know our friends more. We spend time on house party. A lot of us argue about different shows. I know I enjoy Tiger King, and I will watch, and I continue watching. I mean, there are so many things that came out of this pandemic that, yes, there were some low moments, but there are some high moments. We learned a lot of things about each other. You had time to reflect. Some people started a new business. Some people gonna go back to school. There are a lot of things that happened. Somebody got pregnant. I mean, great things happened during this pandemic. But I want to move forward, and I want to ask the female this question. So recently, if you guys were not aware, Taraji P. Henson had an interview with Essence Magazine. And she said that she thinks it's time to fold the phrase strong Black woman, because she believes that the descriptor is dehumanizing and often used to minimize the pain of Black women, most especially those who lose loved ones to censor street violence. For example, she believes that what's happening now is this phrase of strong black woman is being used in the same way. It's like, oh, well, her son got shot or her son got killed. Well, she's a strong black woman. She will get over it. And so this is my first time really looking at the phrase a strong black woman in that context, because we hear it all the time. Oh, she's a strong black woman. She's going to deal with it. She's going to move on. So for these black women on here, I bring out this question. How do you define or understand that phrase, a strong black woman? And I will start with Wednesday.
Me?
You.
Oh, okay. Me personally, I don't really take offense to it. Like if someone were to call me a strong black woman, I would actually feel proud and be like, yes, in fact, I am. Now I know for me, like without my mother being here and me being able to have a family and have a daughter and not having that direct guidance to say, okay, this is how you should raise a child, but just having my memory of my mother and saw like how she kind of groomed our family in a way, I looked at her as a strong black woman. So this quarantine actually just taught me how to like be able to manage my household and still be able to be that key factor within our role or within my household, that I can be a good mother and I'm still able to maintain a business. I'm still able to be a wife and be a good mother. So just thinking about a strong black woman is actually empowering to me, but I do understand where Taraji's coming from, because everyone has a different opinion and it all depends on how they use that phrase. So in the phrase that you mentioned to say, oh, strong black woman, oh, she's a strong black woman, it doesn't matter if she doesn't have feelings. I'm not looking at it in that sense. But somebody say that and I think that's just negative. And I'm always trying to focus on the positive of it. So if someone were to say that conversation to me directly, I would just try to redirect them into like, what's the definition of strong? And then what's the definition of being a black woman? If you can overcome certain things and still be able to find your happiness and still be able to kind of be like that role model, not just to your family, but to other people out there and be able to influence people, then I will embrace that phrase.
Chinelo?
Like I understand what Elijah means.
You can't hear you. You're a little low.
Okay. Now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. So I was saying, I understand where Taraji is coming from in a type of time now, with the whole movement, with all the protests that's going on around now and, around the world, actually, especially United States. I understand where she's coming from, but like what Winfrey said, because, how the media projects that term, strong black woman, can sometimes become negative and derogative because it makes it seem like that strong black woman is also angry, and it's not, and that's what immediately that's what I went to, they always say, oh, she's a strong, angry black woman, and it comes off negative sometimes, but it depends on the context, because if how the person is saying it to you, it could be a compliment or it could be derogatory to that person. So if somebody was to say it to me, it depends on that context. So if they say you're a strong black woman, I will embrace that fact because, like for me, I'm a go-getter. I'm very independent. And that's how I was raised. My parents raised me not to depend on anybody, to go to school, get your education, get your job, and focus on you. Because I think before you can offer anything to anybody else in society or anybody around you, I always try to tell my students, you have to embrace yourself. Your self-esteem has to be there, and you have to be independent, know what you want, go after your goals. You have to chase your goals, chase your dreams. Don't depend on anybody for anything. Because at the end of the day, your education is all you have as a woman, And women, we have to work extra hard to prove ourselves every day in society than a man, Every day we go against men and men overlook women because they feel like, oh, we're supposed to be weak, and we do the same amount of work or even more than a male in the job market or the workforce or whatever, but we're still looked upon as, they're not on the same, they do the same work, but they're paid way less than a male. So if somebody says to me, I'm a strong black woman, I will embrace it because I know what I represent. At the end of the day, it's all about how I take it, what I present, the society and how I feel. So all in all, I could understand, but it's all about the context and how the person says or phrase to you.
Okay, Mrs. Larry Cooper.
Yeah, I agree with everything that the girls mentioned. I think that, obviously like the statement strong Black woman holds a lot of weight, and I think that it's a positive statement. I think that there are a lot of odds that are stacked against Black women, and I feel like we're always, elevating and we're always overcoming. So I think that if someone calls you a strong Black woman, it's a compliment. But I also understand that sometimes the connotation can be a little bit inaccurate in the sense that people think that because you are a strong Black woman, that you don't need to be catered to, or that you're not allowed to be sensitive, or that you shouldn't be spoiled, and that people shouldn't do for you, even though I feel like strong Black women do for everyone. Sometimes we even forget about ourselves. So I think that that is just something that people should remember. Obviously, being pregnant, I've been reading a lot of different stats, and even like in the the health industry, reading that Black women are like 3 times more likely to die during like childbirth than like any other race, because not because of access, but because they won't tend to you because they don't think that they feel like you're a strong Black woman, so you should basically be able to like handle the pain and stuff like that. So I just think that strong Black woman is a good phrase. We just have to be mindful of like the context and how we use it, and just remembering that at the end of the day, yes, we're strong, but we are human beings, and we should also still be respected and catered to just like anybody else.
And just to put context, and what I like to say often is like I grew up with a strong Black woman, my mother, and I have sisters and cousins and friends, and I have strong Black women around me. So that phrase for me really comes off in a sense where it's shown the strength of a Black woman in different ways. So a strong Black woman to provide for her kid, a strong Black woman will deal with situations head on. Like for me, is the strength of different things from that Black woman makes her strong. But I want to ask the men on here, why did you choose this strong Black woman that's next to you? Or Michael, the strong Black woman that on my screen, she's on top of you. But why did you guys choose strong Black women? And I will start with Mr. Williams.
Well, from the first conversations, I sensed that okay, we could be good friends, even best friends, because we like certain things. We like to talk about people. We like to joke. We like to laugh. So I knew that we could be best friends, and that was important to me. So that's what really made me choose, pick her.
Oh.
I had options, but I picked her.
Oh, you had options.
That's all his options.
How many options you had? I just want to.
I saw his options.
They couldn't get to you, right?
No, but it was just like the bond that we had, and I knew that she had an entrepreneurial spirit like I, so it was only in my best interest to engage her or propose to her.
Mr. Cooper, why the strong Black woman?
So not to throw a wrench into your thing, so I'm gonna go with strong African woman. And so growing up here, I was surrounded by a lot of strong African women, some that are family that I feel like the ones that are more notably known, like Auntie Lema Bowie, Auntie May Ure, Auntie Molly Gibson, my mom, Auntie Fatu Ade. So I grew up with a mother who ran her own business since she was 23, our family business, construction and woodwork here. And I always used to make this joke at school. I remember when I was in boarding school, like all these kids would be like, oh, my mom makes the best this, my best that. And like, my mom would probably hate that I'm saying this, but she never like cooked, not say, because she was always like at work, like she was always like achieving her goals and providing for me. And we lived a very fortunate, a good life thanks to her. So I look at that strong African woman, all the challenges that they face from here. And that's what I saw in my wife. From the moment I saw her and we went to dinner when she tried to blow me off, but then it didn't work because we're here. We went to dinner and we had a conversation, and pretty much the whole point of that conversation was, this is my goal for the next 5 to 10 years. This is where I see myself in life. And she pretty much emulated everything that I saw or wanted for my life in 5 to 10 years. It's pretty much like seeing all these strong African women in her, being that she had accomplished so much already, And I could be like, listen, this is the path to happiness, financial freedom, love, and this is the woman that I want to be the mother of my children, because that's just how I viewed my mother and these strong African women that I grew up around. So being around her and you obviously knowing her, I feel like it was the easiest decision I made. And it was a thing that I wanted to do since 2016, which might sound crazy, but 3 months into this, I told her, I was like, let's just go to our courthouse and get married, because I was like, this is just the person I want to be with.
Oh.
And she also tried to blow me off for that, but it's okay.
Look at that now today. They be trying to go off. Mr. Kokoya, tell us why that strong Black.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the fellas Michael just mentioned, I grew up around a lot of strong Black women, African women. You know, my mother, I remember being the breadwinner at a very young age. I mean, just being the leader of our family and holding us down for a long time. And I spent a lot of my years with her and just seeing a lot of things that she endured as a woman, a single mother, you know what I mean? It just, you know, her strength has meant a lot to me. And then, of course, I have 4 incredible sisters who are much, one older than me and the other 3 younger. Just their drive and their determination. A lot of the obstacles that our women face in the world, I mean, whether in the workforce or just in general, you know, their ability to kind of push through, achieve. And I saw a lot of those same qualities in my Chi-Chi, you know, when we, you know, because we've been friends for a while. I remember when she called me one day, said she was going after her second master's. I said, "Tell me, let's do business. How many masters do you want?" But you know, it was something that you know, I admired, you know, in her. You know, the fact that you know she can set a goal, and not just academically, but whatever she puts her mind to, she just goes 100 miles an hour. And that was something that was really attractive to me. And you know, I felt this could be someone that could kind of compliment me, because I have a lot of abilities, but sometimes I can be a little slow to push. And she's more of a, you know, put the foot on the gas pedal and keep it moving as fast as possible. So, and then she's also sweet. There's a lot of other good things, but I like her drive. I think that was one of the things that kind of caught my eye.
Amazing, amazing. But we got a couple of minutes left, but I would like to ask the couples. Our final question is, what can you tell other couples who are going through quarantine right now? What, based on your experience, based on your Black love that you have, how can you help other people who are watching or who will watch this episode? What is it that you can tell them to strive through this time? And I will start with the Kokoyas.
Well, I mean, just you have to keep. I mean, I know it's kind of cliche. People talk about communication. I mean, I think that's really important. I mean, especially during these uncertain times, because you don't know what's happening. I mean, a lot of misinformation out there about this virus and just the economic situation. So you have to kind of communicate. You know, something's bothering you. You know, talk to your partner. That's your road dog. You know what I mean, so to speak. So I think communication is important. You have to have each other's back. You know, be that support system that the other person needs. And yeah, those would be, I think, the 2 main things I would say to other couples. You know, you have to, because a lot of folks were looking for things to kind of lean on. You know, so I think having that person next to you to be that support system is important.
Okay, Williams, can we have one person from the Williams family speak to the crowd?
I think you have to be open to a person, and you have to kind of understand who they are and accept them for who they are. Because in this day and age, we always think, okay, this is what we want, this is what I expect. But you have to put your expectations to the side and know that we're not perfect, and you just have to accept that person if you choose to be with that person.
The Coopers, who's gonna go?
I just wanted to say, like, never settle. That's like my thing. Like, when I look at her and I look at where I want to be, where I am, it's like, never settle. Don't settle for anything you feel is not where you want to be, that's uncomfortable. I understand their situation where I've heard that I'm trying to help, this person find their path, which that is the case, that happens. But most of the time it's like, don't settle for what is not going to make you truly happy. Because when you do settle is how you end up unhappy and end up in long relationships that are not going to really have you fulfilled. So I met somebody where I would obviously put her on a pedestal above me all the time, and I look up to her. So I know that I didn't settle for, the person that I wanted. So yeah, I'll tell most guys out there, like, don't settle, or most women as well, don't settle. Look for what you want and what you need, because your rest of your life is going to be with this particular person, and you don't want to, live a life of misery. And marriages are tough and hard, which I will get to experience as I'm becoming more of a yes man. Yeah, so never settle. That's pretty much it.
Great. I will first like to thank Larice and Michael Cooper, Ray and Wincy Williams, Augustus and Chinelo Kukoya for coming on to the conversation, Outspoken and Opinionated. We had a great conversation. This was Black Love in the Epidemic. I hope that you guys learned something. I hope that you guys were able to relate to them, get some understanding of this is what life is, and don't put yourself in a box, because like I said earlier, marriage is not one size fit all. There are things that might work for me and might not work for somebody with the same kind of situation. It might just not work. But again, this was the conversation, Outspoken Opinionated. My name is Edwin J. Maya. I was your host and the chief opinionator. And so I want to tell you guys to tune back in next week, Thursday at 7:00. We will be on Facebook and on YouTube, streaming live. Next week we're going to be talking about the kids in quarantine. And so we have someone who is a professional in cybersecurity who's going to help us to navigate the system. Because if you know what's happening right now, the kids are all going back to school. They're going to be on the internet, and you need that kind of support to help your kids navigate through the internet, keep them from all these crazy predators, because a lot of things are going on. People are bored. It's quarantine. There are bored people, so you want to protect your kids. So tune in next week. It's going to be all about the kids. And I'm going to have someone who is, like I said earlier, who is a professional in cybersecurity. But again, this was the conversation for the opinionated and outspoken villagers. And I said, thank you for tuning in, and you have an amazing day. Good day.
Thank you.